transatlantic partner less predictable, and then there is Brexit. And Donald was at the forefront of them all, never losing his ability to see clear through the fog. He made sure the EU 28 leaders have a partner in Brussels whom we can trust, who will guide the most inconvenient and difficult conversations, who will always remind us that the European Union is a value-driven project, who will always remind us that united we stand, divided we fall. His sense of purpose and his vision gave us all confidence during times when many saw no solutions at all. He helped transform Europe into a lighthouse, visible not only from the European shores, but far beyond. He worked to ensure that we must go beyond being reactive and defensive. As Europeans, we must regain our self-confidence and realize our own strength. He stood up to those who attempt to erode the trust of our citizens. He came in for defense of smaller countries, newer member states, and forged agreements that found compromises that will not compromise our common future. And he did all this in the past 5 years the same way he has been doing it for the last 3 decades. His political views were influenced early on by the Solidarity social movement and the quest for freedom and human rights. As we commemorate the 30th anniversary of our democratic transition in Central and Eastern Europe, a dream of many generations that we have the privilege to enjoy today, we must be reminded that democracy is not a given. It requires constant maintenance and protection. Donald Tusk is without any doubt one of those who never abandoned these principles, who knows too well why we can't let history repeat itself. He is a Pole, a European, a convinced transatlanticist, a father and a husband. But above all, he is a voice of reason who unequivocally pursues what is right for all. His term at the helm of the Council may be coming to a close, but his legacy will live on. Donald, my friend, this award is a humble thank you for not letting us drift away, for not allowing others to threaten our way of living, and for always placing our values and freedoms at the forefront of all your actions, decisions, and dreams. Donald, it's for me really a great honor, and I would like to invite you, please, that I can give you this award.
Too many compliments. I'm totally demoralized.
Everything is only true. And the stage is yours. Please, we take over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for your compliments. The epithet, the fact is that I am not only father but also grandfather. The time is running, as you know. And of course, my first passion was football. You know something about it. Yeah. I was not, unfortunately, not talented enough, and this is the only reason why I became a politician. I'm really moved, and for me, it's also personally, privately, very important moment. You know what Slovakia means for me, not as a president of the European Council, but also as a Pole, your friend, your neighbor. First of all, I would like to express my warm thanks for honoring me with the Globsec European Award at the end of my mission in Brussels. As you know, leaving high office has its good sides. When you start your term, everyone looks at you with mistrust and places high demands on you. In the middle of your term, they criticize you without mercy and often do not hide their disappointment with you. By the end of your term, everything changes. It's an interesting interdependence. The number of compliments you get is in inverse proportion to the number of days left till the end of your term. I want to believe, however, that there's more to awarding me this prize than just cordial courtesy. My sincere cooperation with Globsec, and we met for the first time many years ago, is a common continued effort to work for the integration of Europe, as well as for the strong position of the countries of our region in Europe and in the European institutions. I was a co-author of this cooperation and also its beneficiary, because without a strong and univocal support from the Slovaks and other countries of this region, I would never have been elected twice as President of the European Council. Frankly speaking, it was our common interest to have at the helm of the Council someone who is an ardent supporter of the European unity and at the same time a genuine spokesman for the countries of Central Europe, who understands their interests, emotions, history and ambitions, as well as their fears and traumas. I remember, as if it were today, our meeting in Bratislava for the opening of the Slovak presidency. Please allow me to repeat the words I had addressed to you at the time. The greatness of a country is not determined by its area. The greatness of a country is not determined by its population. Today we speak of Slovakian greatness not by measuring it in square kilometers, nor based on demographic statistics, but by evaluating the results of your work, determination, patience, and your wisdom. You have demonstrated those attributes since the beginning of your indeed challenging history. Thanks to them, you have built your independence and your position in Europe. You have shown everyone what it means to be proud. You asked no favors of anyone. You didn't want anything for free. You only demanded respect and understanding for your ambitions. Great but justified ambitions. And today, you quite rightly enjoy the respect and recognition of all Europe, of all the international community. I spoke in Slovak then. I try to speak in national languages when I visit the countries of the region. That was the case in Prague, in Zagreb, in Podgorica, Skopje, Sofia, Bucharest, and also in Kiev. Because my second obsession, alongside maintaining the European unity, was to find a balance between integration and a desire for sovereignty, so evident in our countries. It is understandable that we want to enjoy our independence and national sovereignty to the full. They are still so recent. I myself dedicated my young years to the independence of my home country, and so I feel exactly what you must feel. I also know that there will be no sovereign countries of Central Europe without a united and integrated European Union. Whoever makes use of our pride and national ambition against the idea of a united Europe also undermines the sovereignty of our countries, because only Europe as a whole is able to face global challenges and dangers lurking in our immediate neighborhood. The federalists who dream about the disappearance of national states tend to be irritating, and the naivety of some of them can even be surprising. But it is, in fact, the nationalists who pose a greater threat to the sovereignty of our states. This may sound like a slogan, but there will be no sovereign and independent European nations without a sovereign and integrated Europe. The history of our region is the best proof what kind of risks arise when our continent becomes a mosaic of conflicts and antagonistic interests, where it is difficult to agree even the most general and basic principles and values. In 2017, as a guest of Globsec, I said that I was not afraid of different European speeds or different formats of cooperation. The essence of the Union is not threatened just because some of its members integrate more slowly or more cautiously, for instance, regarding common currency or Schengen. Also, I rather see advantages than threats coming from the fact that we gather in different formats in terms of geography or objectives, such as V4 format, for example. The problem is not different speeds, but different directions and destinations. Europe, or in a wider perspective, a transatlantic community, has found itself today at a political crossroads. Until recently, we had been a political and axiological community which was integrating and enlarging, while today it is starting to disintegrate and shrink. Brexit, the withdrawal of the US from many fields, like, for example, its latest decision to abandon Kurds in Syria, hesitations concerning accession talks with our Balkan partners, a demonstrative disregard by some of our member states for fundamental principles such as the rule of law. All this is a sad illustration of the same trend of shrinking and disintegration. That is why I am appealing to the citizens and politicians of our part of Europe. Take on your shoulders the responsibility not only for yourselves and for your interests, but also for Europe as a whole, for Europe as a community. It only depends on you whether the European Union will survive this critical time and rebuild its self-confidence and determination. One may treat the Union as a cash cow and its values with a grain of salt and reservations. Such an attitude may bring internal political benefits, but it is only a very short-term gain. Contemporary times demand from Central Europe maturity and strategic seriousness. We used to say of ourselves, we, the so-called new Europeans, that we were the hope and future of the Union. The moment is coming when history will tell us, check. It would be good if our words didn't turn out to be just a bluff. Thank you very much. Thank you again for your work.